Thank you very much, Jay. It's a real pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to talk to all of you about Triumph Gold and our flagship property, the Free Gold Mountain property. I will be making some forward-looking statements. And while you look at this kind of boring slide, I'll tell you a short story about how I became involved with Triumph Gold. In 2016, Triumph Gold decided to take a totally different approach to exploration on their flagship Free Gold Mountain property. The previous 10 years, they had focused on delineating 3 resources that are still current and on the property. And they're substantial resources, but they're fairly low grade, and at the current metal prices in 2016 or even now, they don't demand a capital investment for a mine and a mill. So the company decided to refocus, step back, and see what kind of exploration opportunities there are that might be able to result in a discovery that could be relevant at today's metal prices. So I was brought on as a geologist to look at exploration potential on the property. I started my work with a desktop study. I took all of the work that had been done previously on the property, $35 million worth of work, and I crunched through it and trying to find opportunities that hadn't already been taken up by the previous operators while they were defining these resources. And then I went and relogged some core, and I came up with some ideas that I was really excited about. I was so excited about them, I quit my consultancy and I joined the company as the VP of Exploration. In November of 2016, right around this time of year, I gave a technical presentation, the first presentation I ever gave of these exploration concepts that I had for the property at a technical conference in Whitehorse called the Yukon Geoscience Forum. And at that conference, Gold Corp was in the room. They had just bought Kaminak for the coffee project for about $500 million. They were really excited about Yukon, and they loved the exploration concept that I presented at that conference. And that was a catalyst for them investing $6.3 million in our company, buying 19.9% of it. And they've been great shareholders ever since. And so since then, we've taken that capital and some more that we've raised as well, and executed 3 seasons of the Yukon's most aggressive and successful exploration. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. First of all, just a little bit about the property. The Free Gold Mountain property is located 200 kilometers north of Whitehorse. It's tucked into a really important district in Yukon. Just to the north of us is the Minto mine. That's potentially our closest source of power. You can see the mine from parts of the property. And just to the south of us is Rockhaven's Plaza project, which is an awesome project. And just along the tectonic grain to the northwest are some other really important projects, Western Copper's Casino Porphyry, a massive porphyry deposit, and Newmont Gold Corp's Coffee deposit. Now, Yukon is a tier 1 district. It is a fantastic place to be doing exploration and to do mine development. But there are some problems in some parts of Yukon. One of the most limiting factors for some projects in Yukon is a lack of infrastructure because it's huge and there's not a lot of roads. That is not something that we suffer from. Our property is on a road. It's just 200 kilometers north of Whitehorse, and you can drive right up to every single spot that we want to drill on the property. And what that amounts to is that exploration costs us about half of what a lot of other Yukon explorers are spending. So a typical remote project in Yukon will cost more than $400 all-in cost per meter for drilling. Our all-in cost is about $250. So that's a real advantage, and it's an advantage that would translate into a development stage as well. This is the property itself. It's 200 square kilometers. It's a district scale property, 34 kilometers from end to end. It's been explored since the 1930s, and there's mineralization from one end to the other. Now today, I'm mainly going to be talking to you about well, this property and really just one exploration opportunity on this property. But part of the value of our company are all of these other showings that are on the property, and we're quietly advancing all of these. And I'm happy to talk to anyone about any of these other projects later on at our booth. So, what is the exploration thesis that we presented at that conference in November of 2016? It's that there is a porphyry copper gold system on this property that had not previously been identified or explored. So really, all we had to do to follow up on that thesis was to go onto the property and do the kinds of grassroots exploration that you do when you're looking for porphyry that hadn't previously been explored. So the first thing we did was we looked at soil anomalies. There's a massive soil anomaly here, one of Western North America's largest and most intense multi-element soil anomalies, 6 kilometers from end to end. And it encompasses 2 of the previous resources, but those are just little postage stamps within this much larger soil anomaly. So we decided to explore outside of the resource areas, but inside of this soil anomaly. And we chose 5 locations to drill test for porphyry mineralization. We thought that we would find porphyry mineralization in 1, maybe 2 of those 5 locations. We found it in all of them. And the significance of that is that this soil anomaly is not just transported, dispersed from those 2 resource areas. Rather, it's an in situ footprint of a very large porphyry system. Now, this just wasn't a technical success. We didn't just find a few porphyry-related veins here and there. We made really great, high-grade intersections in some of these areas. So here's an example of one of them. 316 meters of 1.1 grams gold and about 0.3% copper, with a really high-grade core, 80 meters of 2.5 grams gold and almost 0.4% copper. This is the highest grade intersection of porphyry material ever made in the Yukon. So let's step back a little bit and look at what we think we've got going on here. The stitched photograph that you see there, that is the area of the soil anomaly. It is a range of mountains. There are 4 creeks that are draining out of that range of mountains, and those creeks are each past or current producing gold placer mines that are producing gold that's eroding out of these mountains that we're exploring in. Underneath all of that, what do we think we've got? Well, we have porphyry mineralization everywhere, but it's not your typical style porphyry mineralization. You know, if you look at big porphyries around the world, the ones that are easy to find are the ones that are eroded to the level of the main body of the porphyry. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's what everyone's already discovered. What we need to do now is be creative and start finding porphyries that are buried. And that's what we think we have here, because all the stuff we see at surface is like a distant expression of the main porphyry body. If you look at most porphyry deposits, the mineralization that is the most continuous, most high grade, the stuff that's usually mined, is at the interface between an intrusion and the surrounding country rock. And until this year, that was something we had not intersected with drilling. We thought it was buried. So this year, we drilled deep holes down the high-grade bodies, looking for the source of that mineralization. And in our very first place that we tested, we nailed it. So here we made a massive intersection, 400 meters of 1.2 grams gold equivalent. And then underneath that, we made another intersection. And this was really important because this was rock that was cooked. It was hot rock. It had to have been just adjacent to or within this causative intrusion, the main porphyry source. And there again, we had over 100 meters of almost 1.3 grams gold equivalent. So that's what we've been doing on the property. In 2016, we said, okay, we need to start finding something that's relevant at today's metal prices. The standard that we hold ourselves to for that is a very stringent one. We're looking at things that could potentially be underground mineable, block cave scenario. And on the left-hand side of this chart, you can see some other projects around the world that have that kind of project and that are profitable. And they range averaging around 1% copper equivalent. So that's what the standard we hold ourselves to. In 2016, the property had 3 intersections that were amenable to that style of mining that were that grade. 2017, we made 2 more intersections. We learned from those, figured out how to vector in better on these things. 2018, we made 10 more intersections. This year, we said, okay, let's drill deep where this necessarily would have to be underground mined. Let's see if we can find this causative intrusion. We haven't put out all our results yet for this year. We still have 3 more drill holes, but we nailed it in 3 that we have put out. So I consider that to be our exploration report card. So what's the value proposition here? Triumph Gold, we are a company of experienced gold explorers. We are able to raise capital even in bad market conditions, and we deploy that capital into the ground with successful exploration campaigns, creating a company that could be a target for a buyout from a major mining company. So that's the value proposition. Thanks, Jay.